Coming at you live, coming at you live. It is your boy Skills. It is December 29th, 2023. It is almost 2024, and it is time for the latest episode of Skills on Sports. We're about 5 weeks behind. I really wanted to talk to you guys on Monday after the 49ers went down hard against the Baltimore Ravens at Levi Stadium. Niners are my team. Now, we focus on we lean towards the Bay Area teams here. I'm from the Bay Area, if you don't know. San Francisco Bay Area. Niners, Warriors, Giants are my teams. But we will get into national sports. We'll get into the entire NFL, NBA, and later on MLB in our time together. But I just want to talk about my teams who are... They're certainly not lacking for stuff to get into. The Niners, of course, blown out by... Well, it was 33-19. I wouldn't say it was a blowout, but the score wasn't that close. If you were really watching and you saw how bad the Niners played, basically top to bottom, except for George Kittle and maybe one or two other guys, they got stomped. And here's what the problem with that is for me. I mean, first of all, the 49ers went from first place to first place, losing to Baltimore that night. Baltimore's a great team, first place team in their own right. You're going to lose. You're not going to go. Most teams are not going to go 16-0 or 17-0 now. It's just not going to happen. You're going to get stomped sometimes. Even the great teams get stomped. But here's the thing: is that as soon as a loss fell upon them, as soon as they revealed themselves to be human and not machines, everyone and from everywhere, under every rock, out of every cave, wants to basically write them off. Wants to basically say that they are frauds. They are not for real. They are still 11-4. I don't know how you can be phony and be 11-4. I just don't know. But you have to remember, these are the same people who, when San Francisco started the season 5-0, lost 3 straight, wanted Kyle Shanahan fired, wanted Brock Purdy strung up, wanted everybody on the team from the linemen, Trent Williams, on down to the linebackers and the defensive backs. The coach, Steve Wilks, was the problem. He wasn't standing on the sideline. The whole organization, if you were to listen to the bandwagon jumpers, the whole organization was rotten top to bottom. The same organization that less than a month before was headed to the Super Bowl. Now, of course, I am a rational fan of all my teams, which means that I, of course, called my Niners going to the Super Bowl back in week 2. My team is going to go wherever they end up going. Then I'm not going to write them off as soon as they lose a game, unless they lose enough games to where they are eliminated from playoff contention, which is very unlikely to happen. 11-4 still leading the NFC, 2 games left. We got the Washington Commanders, and then I forget who the other team is. One of the West teams, I think. I'm not sure. Commanders are going down, by the way. I predict the final score of that to be 49ers 40, Commanders 21 at most. You heard it here first on Skills on Sports. You know, you can't jump off. If you're a bandwagon, well, I guess a bandwagon fan is going to do whatever they want to do. A bandwagon fan doesn't want any losses whatsoever, and I really don't take them seriously. But if you're really, really someone who really, really watches the games and really, really, really understands what's going on in the NFL, you know for a fact that one loss does not make or break the Niners season any more than one win would make or break the Niners season. And what have we seen them do way more often than we've not seen them do? Win ball games, right? They've beat so many teams, good teams, the Cowboys, Seattle. Who else am I thinking of? Well, we have stopped a number of good teams who otherwise would probably. It's a long season. You're not going to go, like I said, you're not going to go 17-0. Brock Purdy played terribly. There's no denying that. There's no denying 4 interceptions, damn near 5th. Should have been a 5th probably. There's no denying that a lot of the balls he did not get intercepted were poorly thrown. Right? He really didn't have much connection with anybody except Kittle that night. It was like watching Jimmy G throw to Kittle again, like the old days when Jimmy G couldn't throw to anyone else with regularity. But Brock, he probably did lose the MVP that night, Monday night. He probably realistically, because playing against Lamar Jackson, who was after that first couple possessions, after that he was pretty much flawless. Lamar Jackson ran for another 40-yard game. He's had what is it like? I wrote this down. He's had 10 games now where he's rushed for 40 yards or more, which is a lot for a quarterback. Even a quarterback like him, that's still a lot. And 10 games out of 15 where he's just basically ripped through defenses with his feet, and he's gotten overtime because his weakness was, according to most people, he just wasn't as good a thrower as he was a runner, and he wasn't a bad thrower. He was never a bad thrower, but this year he's found what to do with his arm as well as his feet and his legs. He is as tough to beat as any quarterback in the league right now, including Brock. And if he wins MVP, I certainly wouldn't be crying foul. I certainly would be right there like, hey, he deserved it. He when he faced his prime opposer, his prime competitor for the MVP award that Monday night at Levi Stadium, and wholly outplayed him, in spite of being tripped up by the ref in the end zone for a safety, which you'll probably never see ever again, if not for a long time, especially for a guy like Lamar, who seems like he can do anything athletically. You got a guy who's just having, arguably, I don't know if he's better than he was in 2019. That was his other MVP season. I don't know if he's as good this year as he was last year. The numbers probably better, but I mean, whatever the case may be, if he wins it, fine. What I want to win is the Super Bowl. All right, most MVPs do not go on to win the Super Bowl, and I'm not, off the top of my head, I think, but Steve Young was one of the last ones to win the MVP and the Super Bowl in the same season. I want to say Kurt Warner did it too. I want to say Kurt Warner was MVP in '99. I do not remember for sure the year that the Rams, greatest show on turf, won the Super Bowl. This is one of those things I probably should have looked up, people. But I had enough stuff to look up. All right, just be happy I'm here because we were having technical difficulties, which is one reason why this show is being recorded on Friday as opposed to, say, Tuesday. Right? We've had a number of technical difficulties here that I think I've sorted out and straightened out. Lamar Jackson, the rest of the Ravens played so well on Monday night. That 33-19 victory it felt more like 43-15. And it's, kind of a testament to how good the 49ers are and the way that they compete, that they still technically, even though the odds were certainly not in their favor at the end of the game, they certainly did still have a chance to pull that game out late with a couple of lucky bounces, maybe an onside kick or two, even with Brock Purdy out for the rest of the game, having left in the third quarter, I think he left, early fourth, one or the other, due to injury. And Sam Darnold came in, got us a touchdown real quick. Niners still had an outside chance to win that game. If Darnold had completed that pass in the end zone right after the 2-minute warning, would have brought them within a score, onside kick. Who knows what could have happened? Darnold's arm, and the way Ayuk and Debo can get open, and Kittle, always a threat over the middle, there was a realistic chance the Niners could have still somehow ended up tied, maybe even leading that game at the end. It's crazy that they were in that position. A testament that they can play. It brings me a little bit of, I don't want to say comfort, but it makes me less worried, I suppose, that they can play that poorly and still be technically in the game at the end. They still had a chance at the end to pull out a victory, or at very least a tie, sent it to overtime, with a couple breaks their way. Now, did they deserve to win? Hell no. They did not deserve to win. Funny because I'm probably like the 832nd person to mention this, but I was the first on Twitter that I saw to say it, that when the score was 5-0, it was more like a San Francisco Giants and a Baltimore Orioles score. You don't see 5-0 very often. I don't think it's ever happened in NFL history. That being said, 5-0 didn't last very long. Baltimore, eventually took the lead. There was a very, very big hit on Deebo Samuel, but you have to understand Deebo Samuel is made of chrome. You're going to have to do a lot better than that to take him out. If he's going to miss a game, if he's going to miss a quarter or a play or even a series, it's going to be because of a muscle pull. It's not going to be because someone lit him up. I think he's proven that already. Deebo Samuel is as tough as the man Tiny Lister's character in Friday he was nicknamed after. You're not going to just, you're not going to boom, You're not going to boom Samuel. I just invented a verb. R.I.P. John Madden. So, what we were left with, we still have 49ers in first place, as I said. The 49ers have still the best shot, I believe, at getting that number one seed and getting the 2 home games at the playoffs, or as many as 2 home games in the playoffs. And as long as they just handle business these last 2 games of the season, you don't go from as dope, a dominant of a team that they've been against these past 6 opponents, not all of whom were bad, so don't even go there. You don't just turn from that into a bottom-feeding, bottom of the fish tank doo-doo turd that just can't even beat the best team in the AFC. Any team that night was going to lose to Baltimore. Now they hurt themselves. San Francisco hurt themselves with the turnovers. That's not common. That is not common. And it is not likely to ever happen at that frequency again. And if it does, then, hey, it's not going to happen this season. I'll tell you that much right now. Brock Purdy is what he is, which is a darn good quarterback. Is he a superstar? I'm not gonna call him a superstar yet. But you have to understand, this MVP talk was not unjustified. The guy was the best quarterback, well, at the very least, one of the best 6 quarterbacks in the league, in my opinion, all season long, even during the losing streak. And what quarterback doesn't have a losing streak of some sort? And I was going to research this because I know it's happened for a fact. I know for a fact. I just couldn't think of it off the top of my head. There have been Super Bowl winning teams, or at the very least conference champions, who have suffered horrible losses near the end of the season, where everyone and every facet played poorly, and they were able to regroup, pull it together during the playoffs, and at the very least get to the Super Bowl, if not outright win the damn thing. I mean, look what, I'm sure this has been brought up a million times on other talk shows, on other podcasts. The Steve Young, George Seifert screaming match game against Philadelphia back in '94, where after that happened, I believe I was in week 5 of the season, or the 5th game at least, and they went on to win the next, 10 games in a row, only losing the last game because they rested their starters. Went on, got right all the way through the Super Bowl with very little difficulty is what I'm trying to say. All right? These things happen. Good teams can get stomped by bad teams, and bad teams can get stomped by good teams, and good teams can stomp each other. This is what happens. What you had on Monday night was a case of everything going wrong for San Francisco that possibly could, short of a season in the injury. And the only thing I'm really worried about from that game, you put that game behind you. The only thing I'm worried about from that game is Trent Williams' groin. And as long as Trent Williams' groin is fit for action, and he's going to be, at the very least, capable of holding things down the left side of that line, as he always does, and gives Purdy a chance. Oh, but Purdy, he can't do anything. But Purdy, he can't do nothing if he don't have that big guy on his line. And Trent Williams don't protect him. He don't do nothing. He garbage. Is there any quarterback, not only in the NFL, is there any quarterback in high school, college, anywhere, that isn't a little bit worse, that isn't a little less effective when he doesn't have a capable left tackle, if he's right-handed, or a capable right tackle, if he's left-handed? Come on! Don't give me that garbage. Don't give me that. Of course he's going to play a little worse if he has to worry about giant mutant 400-pound men coming at his blind side, coming from behind him to take him out. Of course he's going to be a little less effective. Of course Trent Williams gives him a little extra comfort. But you know what? That's every quarterback. That's every quarterback in creation. All right? And I'll tell you what. I have full confidence that Brock Purdy, if Trent Williams were for some reason unable to go at any point from here on out, or this regular season playoffs, and whoever they put in his place is not going to be as good, no. But I'm pretty sure Brock would adjust. I'm pretty sure the coaching staff would adjust. I'm pretty sure they would figure something out. Because if we can see how much better he is with his full line, like any other quarterback, then of course the coaching staff sees it and will adjust accordingly. Now, this past game, without Trent there for most of the game after he got hurt, He's a difference maker, and we got to have him if we're gonna go far. And that's just being real. So you can't knock Purdy because it's no different than say knocking Magic Johnson for not being as effective if he doesn't have Kareem out there, which Magic, Magic's whole career except for his last season, he played with Kareem. So we'll never know for sure. But I'm pretty sure Kareem made Magic a little bit better. The same way Trent makes Brock better. The same way Scottie Pippen made Michael Jordan better. The same way, let's go up and down the list. Same way Tom Brady's line made him a little bit. Same all those guys on the Dallas Cowboys line made Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith better. You think Emmitt Smith runs for the most yards in NFL history without Nate Newton in there, without Larry Allen in there? Of course not. It's a team sport. So, I mean, everyone wants to knock Brock and look for reasons to tear him down and to call him out for being a phony. And what it is just people are just mad because the guy looks like Rick Astley and plays like goddamn Tom Brady or maybe a step below Tom Brady, but plays damn well. And what it is, and I've talked about this, and I've talked to my friends about this. I've talked about this on Season Over Fire Everyone's Sports Show. That's my 3-man show I do with my other partners. And I've talked about this. Purdy, people don't want Purdy to succeed because he looks like Rick Astley and he's small and he doesn't do anything special. He doesn't look like he's even an athlete, let alone a star quarterback. And if he succeeds, what it's going to do, well, I firmly believe this is why people don't want him to succeed, or at least they act like it. It's going to throw the whole draft philosophies into chaos because you're always looking for the 6'4" guy with the cannon arm, and that guy might be the next Jeff George, which is not a compliment. And now you got to step back and look at everything you know. You got to analyze these smaller guys, these skinny guys that look like never going to give you up, never going to let you down, never going to run around. You got to look at those guys and wonder how well they're going to perform on a football field. Whereas before, you would probably, pepper spray them and kick them out of the building. Huh, you don't belong here, chump. Look at you. They don't even take them seriously, those guys. It's like it used to be in baseball. In baseball, if it really, to some elements, still to this day, they want the big, strong guy that throws 100 miles an hour. There's so many of those guys now. It's not really the same as it used to be because now all it seems like everybody comes in the league is 6 foot, throws 100 miles an hour, and so the Greg Maddoxes of the league, the 5'9", 10 guys who are maybe 170 pounds soaking wet, who barely crack 90, if they crack 90, they can pitch too. They just don't do it. They're not as sexy. They're not as intimidating, but they get the job done. And through the whole draft system, the whole draft philosophy, once Greg Maddux proved that you can succeed, and then Pedro Martinez was small too, but he had the stuff. All right, so it wasn't the same thing. Maddux didn't have the electric stuff or the imposing body. But he forced scouts to take a second look at the nerdy guy, the non-jock guy, the little runt guys who may not have gotten a look before. And that's what Brock Purdy's going to be doing if indeed he proves himself to be a long-term fixture at quarterback. If he proves to be a consistent year-in, year-out star, he's going to be a guy you cannot just write off the little 6 foot, under 6 foot guys with the less than laser arms, with the less than laser intimidation. You got to at least give them a chance to see what they can do because they might just be the next Brock. Of course, they might also just be the next Nick Mullins. And that's not that was unfair. Nick Mullins has had a decent career as a backup quarterback. Okay, that wasn't fair. But let's just say he just might be the next in terms of washing out of the league. And I hate to take a shot at this guy because I like this guy as what he's become after he finished playing, but he might have a career like Ryan Leaf, where it just was never going to happen. He just didn't have what it took. But Ryan Leaf had what it took physically. He didn't have it between the ears at the time. Brock Purdy's got it between the ears, and he's got enough physically, as he's proven, to get things done. He can end up changing the game if he can keep this up. And I'm not writing him off just because of one bad game against the Ravens. Now let's take a look around the rest of the NFL. We had Thursday Night Football last night. We had the Jets and the Browns. The Browns clinched the playoff spot, beating the Jets 37-20. But what everyone wants to know about and wants to hear, the good news, that wide receiver Elijah Moore of Cleveland, who took a nasty forehead first plant into the ground after being tackled after a catch yesterday, he's out of the hospital. And you remember, if you watch the game, he hit the ground pretty hard. It didn't. I mean, no harder than like you've seen other guys hit the ground, but he hit it forehead first, like I said, and he started to twitch and what looked like convulsed a little bit. He clearly was not right. He went to the hospital. They did whatever they did. He's out now. He's still in concussion protocol. Don't expect him to play on Sunday. I sure as hell wouldn't play him on Sunday. Oh wait, they don't have a game Sunday anyway. This is next. This is Thursday Night Football. My bad. So he wouldn't play on Sunday anyway. But next week, his status is still up in the air. The guy's a good player. I hope even if he wasn't a good player, I'd wish him the best. But obviously, you want your good players healthy because Cleveland has clinched the playoff spot for just the third time since they re-entered the league, and they re-entered the league almost a quarter century ago. This is no small feat for a franchise that's gone through so much on and off the field. We won't get into all that here today, but this year they had setbacks with why am I drawing a blank on this? Nick Chubb getting hurt very early in the season. Deshaun Watson, who although he's a dirtbag, he's their starting quarterback, and they were counting on him. He went down halfway through the season, not to return. They've dealt with that, and they've come. They're what are they? 10-6 now. 10-6, and full steam ahead to the playoffs. They even have a chance, from what I read, to get the number one spot, which would be just insane after what they went through early on. So good news for them. If you're a Cleveland Browns fan, I'm happy for you. There are other quarterbacks who will not be playing this weekend, including, but not limited to, as we turn the page here, Trevor Lawrence, who started every game for the Jacksonville Jaguars since he's been in the league. He got hurt last over the weekend and hurt his shoulder. He's going to be out for the first time in his 4 years in the NFL. Trevor Lawrence will miss a game. He's going to be replaced by the former 49er C.J. Beathard, who is a tough SOB, grandson of former Charger Bobby Beathard. CJ will at least give him a chance to win. I watched him play close with the 49ers for a number of years. He always gave him a chance. He took some huge hits. Our line back then was dirt. But CJ will always bounce back. He dealt with the death of a relative, too, during that time. And, man, if there's anybody who can handle a tough situation, the Jaguars have lost 4 straight games. So this is definitely make or break time for them. They're 8-7, still got a chance to make the playoffs. And now their hopes, at least for 1 week, are going to ride on CJ. I believe I read that Trevor Lawrence might still be the number 2 guy. Might play in an emergency. We'll see about that. I could be wrong there, so don't. If you're smart, you don't quote me on anything. I'm just an idiot blabbing into a microphone. See, the microphone I blab into. All right. Also, speaking of Nick Mullins, other 49ers backup quarterback from the late teens, Mullins had been starting in Minnesota with Kirk Cousins gone and Josh Dobbs apparently zigzagging in and out of starting. Because Josh Dobbs, I don't know, that guy, he's gone from hero to zero and back so many times this season. ESPN did a whole feature on the guy when he was with, I think he was still with Arizona before the trade at the time. They did a whole feature on the guy, how special he is because he waited all these years to get a real chance in the NFL. At age 28, he finally got a shot, started doing some things on the field. Looked good, lost a lot, but looked good. Looked okay. Looked like a competent quarterback. Goes to Minnesota, wins the first 2 games there. Then, at the last 2 games he's played there, he turned the ball over 4 times. He threw 4 picks in one of them. I know a guy who did that recently. He's laid my credit. And then after that, he went 10-23 in their loss to the Raiders. Went 10 of 23. And since then, that was a few weeks ago. He hasn't been on the field since. They've been going with the Hall guy. Jaren Hall. Jaren Hall. They've been going with him, and they're going to go with him again this coming Sunday in place of Mullins, who has turned the ball over 7 times in the last 2 games. Well, almost 7. 6 times. 7th was taken away from, wiped out on a penalty. Would have been 7. So you'll see Nick Mullins on the bench coming up from Minnesota, and he's taking it like a pro as far as I can tell. But the big news about quarterbacks who will not be playing this weekend, the great Russell Wilson, or great in the eyes of many people. He's done some things. He's a good player. I hate him for being on the Seahawks. being a Super Bowl champ when my Niners and Seahawks were at their biggest rivalry. So I'm a little biased against Russ, and I don't really care much for him and all the Sierra stuff, but that's neither here nor there. Wilson and the Denver Broncos are 7-8, but Wilson is being benched for the final 2 games of the season, and apparently it does not have anything to do with the screaming match between him and Coach Sean Payton, which I'm going to get into in a little bit. It has to do with a contract issue. He's supposed to be guaranteed $37 million in 2025, and apparently the Broncos are afraid if he gets hurt. I've never heard anything like this before. To guarantee, they asked him first of all to negate the guarantee, to restructure his contract without that guarantee. He said no, and apparently they're afraid because something in the contract, he's guaranteed the money even if he's hurt. Some garbage like that. Basically, they're claiming that they don't want him to get hurt the last 2 games of the season, but really what it is, they're punishing him for not getting rid of the guarantee, is what it looks like to me as an outsider. And since Sean Payton has proven himself to not necessarily be a huge Russell Wilson guy, he's going to be on the bench. He's going to still get paid. He's going to get what he's owed, and he's supposed to get what he's owed next year too. And to his credit, I got to give Wilson credit, because while he did go public with what supposedly went on with the Denver asking him to get rid of his guaranteed money coming up at 25, the guaranteed part of it. To his credit, he has not publicly gone after anyone in the Denver organization. He has not called them out for what is, at least to me, looking like a bit of a scummy move. A little bit of slime over this transaction, a little bit of slime over this decision. You pull things out of the ground, so like worms, and worms have a little slime on them. It's just like, ew, I don't want to touch this. Oh, you get all nauseous. That's what this move is looking like. This move is looking like a worm being pulled out of the ground with slime on it. Like someone like that, someone with that level of character is really going to do this to the Denver fans and the Denver team that is still in contention for a playoff spot. That is more important to either, depending on how you look at it, stick it to Russ for not voiding the guarantee, or to just save the money, period. If they're letting money, now granted there's a lot of money, and it's not my money, but they're letting money get in the way of winning, and to me, in the NFL, that is completely inexcusable. Inexcusable. You paid Wilson that money in the first place to get him there. He's done the best he freaking could to get you there. You have a chance, even though you're not a great team. You went out, and then a couple other things happened. You can still get in the playoffs, and this is how you're going to do it. If I'm a Denver fan, I show up there like the Detroit Pistons. I'm yelling, sell the team. Like I'm a Pistons fan. We'll get to the Pistons losing streak later on. I'm yelling, sell the team. All right? At the very least, overhaul the front office again. I know, and they brought in Peyton. And listen, when Peyton yelled at Wilson that day on the sideline, I knew right then, because Wilson's not the kind of guy who's going to take that kind of stuff. Wilson and Carroll didn't get along. Wilson didn't get along with a lot of his teammates anyway. Right? Well, I wouldn't say he didn't get along with, but he certainly wasn't tight with him like you'd expect a star player to be. Right? Wilson doesn't give a crap about winning friends or anything. He's proven that. All right? And then you come out here, I can't remember off the top of my head a head coach screaming at his star player on the sideline for all to see like that. The closest I could think of was the aforementioned Young Seifert thing, but pretty much Steve Young was doing most of the talking there. I remember Mike Singletary, he didn't scream at Vernon Davis to get off the bench and go to the locker room. He didn't scream at him, but he did tell him in very stern words, and Mike Singletary, not a man you want to disobey. And then the only other time off the top of my head I could think of where a head coach screamed at his player on the field was when Albert Haynesworth committed that stomp, the infamous head stomp he did at one of the whoever it was, Buccaneers, whoever it was, and Jeff Fisher went ballistic on him on the sideline, and basically it was, if he would have kicked him off the sideline if he hadn't already been ejected. So this is not something you see. You do not see a head coach screaming at a veteran star quarterback making about 10 times as much as he does, the way you saw Sean Payton. And now Sean Payton's no angel either. I mean, you got the Bounty Gate with Sean Payton. You got the whole thing with Nathaniel Hackett, where he was bad-mouthing his predecessor as Broncos head coach when it was really not called for. So Payton's no saint. Nope. Well, Payton was a saint head coach for a long time. But Payton's certainly not something. He's not an angel. He's not squeaky clean himself. But this is a case where I don't think this marriage is going to last much longer. And if Wilson, and I'm usually like on the fence about trade demands and not giving your all to an organization, because most of the time, at least from the outside looking in, these guys are paid a lot of money, and you think as if the organization is paying you this much money and giving you these many perks and letting you do this and letting you do that, and you get to be on TV every week, and you get to be in commercials and all that stuff, and you have everything going for you from the outside looking in, that it looks like. I'm usually pro organization, but in this case, how are you going to offer Wilson all this money, sign him for all this money, and then try to take it back a year later because you don't like what? I don't know what you know. I'm not behind the scenes, but I guarantee you, whatever's going on, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Sean Payton's pulling the strings. Sean Payton does not seem to like Russell Wilson very much. That marriage is just, it's not going to last much longer in Denver. I just don't see it happening. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I'm not wrong. What else we got here? I want to talk about. Okay, this is where I'm going to need you, the viewer, to break things down for me because I don't understand. And I've followed sports since I was 10 years old. I'm 43 now. I don't understand why Zaire Alexander of the Green Bay Packers, who's now suspended by you, when he called that the coin toss, and he ran on the field with the captains, because they apparently do different captains every week, and he ran out when he was not supposed to run out, called for the Packers to be on defense, not to defer, which I didn't know was, I honestly, I didn't know there was a difference between the two either. And apparently there is a difference, and apparently the officials could have really screwed him over and said, hey, we're going to give this to your opponent. Who was the opponent? I wrote that down. I thought I wrote it down. But whoever they were playing could have had the ball apparently twice to start each half. If the officials hadn't stepped in and said, yo, this is what you want. You want defense instead of deferring. And Alexander was confused. I'm still confused. I've read 3 different articles on it trying to understand what the difference is, how it works, because I thought I knew. I thought I knew if one team defended to start the first half, the other team defended to start the second half. That's what I always thought. And I'm not understanding how saying defense is different. And it could be that I'm just a moron. It wouldn't be the first time I've been called that. So if you know, hit me up, skillsavage247@gmail.com. Otherwise, hit me up on Twitter, hit me up somewhere. I'm out there. I'll be the fat guy in the Giant shirt. All right. So Jaire Alexander, I keep saying Zaire, suspended for 1 game coming up. Yeah. What else we got here to talk about? Oh, I want to get into the Michael Pittman thing. I haven't been on Skills on Sports or any of my sports shows in a few weeks now for a variety of reasons, but the Michael Pittman hit was one that I couldn't watch. I'm not no one's a fan of contortion or bodies being twisted in ways they're not supposed to be, but I can handle it less than the average person. And when Michael Pittman, I still have not watched that hit in full directly with my eyes open, because it was just rough. It was a bad hit. It was a bad hit, and somehow he survived intact. The gentleman who took him out, Mr. Kaze, Damontae Kazee, if I'm saying that right, if I'm saying it wrong, I'm sorry, Damontae. Apparently he's got a history of this. Apparently he had 5 different, and by the way, this happened in the Colts. Was the Colts and Steelers game from December 16th, where Damontae hit Michael Pittman, who has 99 receptions and needs just one more to become the 6th player in the NFL to get 100 this season. I just wanted to throw that in there. Pittman has been in and out of the concussion protocol, but at last report, according to ESPN.com, he is set to play this weekend. He's seemingly all squared away health-wise, and good for Michael Pittman because that was a bad hit. Damontae suspended for the rest of the season. However, he will be eligible for the playoffs should the Steelers somehow manage to turn things around and make it at the last minute. We shall see if that happens. And since our time is limited, I'm going to move on to basketball, move on to the NBA. Big story in the NBA, Detroit fell. Again, 28 losses in a row, ties the all-time record for one season or multiple seasons set by the Sixers of a few years ago. And the thing is, Detroit probably should not have lost that game. At the very least, they should have been, because the goaltend that they called on Cade Cunningham as regulation was winding down was a travesty. It was against Boston yesterday. I've seen it. It's you just can't call that in the game that close. Okay, you just can't call that in the game where the Pistons are desperate to break a losing streak. But that's probably why they called it. That's probably why they called it. Because they expect the worst from a bad team like the Pistons. There's no way that Cade or anyone on Detroit could, if they lost 27 games in a row coming into this one, there's no way they could make a game-saving play. And the game wound up tied, going to overtime. This was, I think they made it 106 all, something like that. And it went 108 all going into overtime. And the Pistons wound up losing to the Celtics in overtime for 28 losses in a row. I feel bad for them. I have no connection to the Pistons except for James Wiseman used to play for my Warriors. They don't. They have enough players on that team where it should not be. They should not be 2-28. Monty Williams is not a rookie nobody head coach. He's a coach who's been around, who's done some things. All right, he's been to the NBA Finals as recently as 2 years ago. He was a good coach with the Hornets and Pelicans once they got some players in there, which isn't a given because not all teams with good players have good coaches, and vice versa. So, Monty has a good reputation. I don't know why the Phoenix Suns fired him, unless they know something we don't know. Because I know they changed ownerships and they let him go after the end of the season last year, which was only like a year after they went to the finals. One year? Bucks Suns was 2021. Okay, 2 years, but still, it just seemed like a bit of a extreme unnecessary change of coaches, especially since Phoenix has been a middling team all year, and now they got issues with Kevin Durant, supposedly. We'll get to that in a moment. But I bring the Pistons situation up in part just to talk about the history, but in part that's because I want to mention what Dwight Howard said on TikTok. Dwight Howard threw a lineup out there of mostly players playing in foreign leagues and a couple other free agents in there that really wasn't half bad. It surely isn't any worse than what the Pistons are already running out there, okay? Because no one on that team except Cade really deserves to stay on that team based on anything. If you're trying to win ball games, no one else on that team has achieved anything that they're capable of achieving that you'd want from a winning team. All right, they've all played poorly except Cade. But here's what Dwight Howard had to say. He said that his starting lineup that he would propose is free agents and guys playing in foreign leagues. Dwight Howard himself, DeMarcus Cousins, Michael Beasley, and rounding out the starting five would be John Wall and Isaiah Thomas. That's not horrible. And on the bench would be Kemba Walker, Lance Stevenson, Blake Griffin, and Taco Fall. And he has a guy here named D.O. I don't know who that was supposed to be. Doc. I keep wanting to say DeMontis Sabonis, but DeMontis Sabonis is not a free agent. But that group of 9 guys, are they going to take you to the finals? No, but they're going to win 2 out of 5 games. They're going to win 3 out of 10 games, which at this point is an improvement. Plus, Cade would still be on the team, right? If I'm Detroit, I have nothing to lose. I just want guys to pay it. I want eyes on my team. I want the fans to stop yelling for me to sell the team. I'm gonna take Dwight Howard's plan. If I can make the salary cap and the dollars and the luxury tax, if I can make all that work, I'm wiping everybody out except Cade, and I'm bringing in these guys. I'm bringing them all in. What do I have to lose? I'm already 2-28. Or wait, 2-20, 2-29, 2-29 with 28 losses in a row. I'm already 2-29. What do I have to lose? I'm already garbage. If my players are old and get hurt and don't do anything, the only difference is the other guys are young and get hurt and don't do anything. James Wiseman, a clip of James Wiseman circulating on the web right now. He went out to guard his own man. His own man was driving to the basket. James Wiseman stepped up on defense instead of getting out of the freaking way to guard his own teammate who missed a shot and led to a dunk on the other end. I've watched a lot of James Wiseman's career, most of it before, pretty much all of it before he was traded. He had a lot of shortcomings, but he was never that freaking clueless to where he would guard his own man. Man, how things have changed. Other NBA news: my Warriors won 5 in a row without Draymond Green. Now they've lost 2 in a row without Draymond Green, and it's the Splash Brothers in the last game, which was last night against Miami Heat at home. Splash Brothers combined to go 7 of 26 from the floor, 26 points total. For the second game in a row, Stephen Curry didn't make a basket until the second quarter was almost over. It was like 3:44 in this game. It was like 2:43 in the last game. The only point he had in the last game was like a technical free throw before like there was like less than 3 minutes to go in the second quarter. He's been off to two icy starts, and they've just dug holes and never been able to completely get out of them these last two games. I just don't know what to make of the Warriors. My Warriors are just. Do they need Draymond? Don't they need Draymond? They don't. They don't need Draymond to just attack people and ring up technical fouls and ejections. They don't need that guy. No one needs that guy. But he was playing when he was actually on the court playing. He wasn't playing poorly at all. He was shooting some of his best percentages in forever from deep. He was shooting the ball well from deep. He was scoring more points he scored since like the 17 or 18 season. He was playing well, but the thing is, he's a freaking menace and a lunatic sometimes, more often than anyone else in the league. And short of Bobby Portis, I mean, how many guys are going to want to deal with that? Bobby Portis is the kind of guy that seems like he'd like that sort of thing. So that's why I'm saying him. But without Green, they were winning. Now they're losing again. So I don't know which Warriors team is the real one. I know Coach Kerr definitely shoulders some of the blame here. Whether or not you agree with whether or not he's the right coach for this team, the fact of the matter is, for everything he's done for the team in the past, he is to blame for some of what's going on right now. Some of his coaching decisions or non-decisions are playing direct roles in wins and losses here. He's not playing Moses Moody. He played Moses Moody 2 minutes in the previous game against Denver. Moses Moody is one of his best bench players, a guy who's contributed to some very, very good winning basketball in the week or two leading up to that. For whatever reason, he just was glued to the bench. I don't know if something went on in practice. I just don't know. But sometimes it seems like he's got it in for his young players. They just. And then last night he lets Jonathan Kuminga, who was drafted along with Moody 3 years ago, stay on the court for half the game, in spite of turning the ball over pretty much every time he touched it. So I don't know. I don't get it. It's getting frustrating, and I don't pretend to know everything going on. But there's got to be a better solution than that. He can do better. He can do better. There's no denying whatever he's done in the past, whatever lineups and he can do better than what he's done. And I would like to think he'd be the first to admit that. He did take responsibility. I will say the game that he didn't play Moody about what was that, about a month ago maybe now, where he didn't play Moody even though Moody was playing well. He pulls him from a game, doesn't put him back in. He did take full credit for that poor decision. I'll give him that. But he's got to take blame for more than that. What else we got here for the NBA news? I didn't want to go too much about the Warriors because that's local. I can honestly talk about them for a full half hour. Other NBA news we got here's something I bet you did not know. The Minnesota Timberwolves, who are on top of the Western Conference, their head coach, Chris Finch, who's only been there for 2.5 years, 3 years now, he is already second on their all-time coaching wins list. Second. Minnesota's been around since the late 80s. And Chris Finch has won more games as their head coach than anyone they've ever had except for the late, great Flip Saunders, who won like 400-something games. Chris Finch is 126 coming in on the night. Wow, that says something about how futile and unstable your franchise has been. But also says a lot about the kind of coach Chris Finch has been to have turned this team into a winner with the help of course, Rudy Gobert and the rest of the existing base of the fulcrum of that team, turning that team into a winner so quickly. And what else we got here? NBA news. We talked about that. The Dallas Mavericks and the Minnesota Timberwolves, speaking of them, are both in the process of being sold. And while most people couldn't give two rats behinds about where the Timberwolves go to, the Dallas sale is pretty interesting. Mark Cuban, who's owned them since, 25 years now, he will still be 27% owner, and he will still be in control of basketball operations, but the majority owners will be this trio of people who are related to each other through marriage or something, who have casino connections and who are trying to make gambling legal in Texas. So this has potential to be very interesting. I'm not saying that they're going to start putting slot machines under the hoop or anything like that if they should be successful getting gambling legalized in Texas, but it just might make for a very interesting arena experience for those who attend games down there where Dallas plays. And I'm not going to pretend I know the name of the arena because I don't. And speaking of names of arenas, I did not know that the AT&T Center where the Spurs play is now called Front Bank Center. Hi, everyone. Hi. Welcome to Front Bank Center. At Front Bank Center, we have like money and stuff. At Front Bank Center, we don't let you go back to your old bank because you're at Front Bank. We don't let you go back because we're front. How can we help you, sir? No, I'm sure Front Bank Center is. I'm sure Front Bank is a fine bank. I'm sure Front Bank is a fine bank, a fine collection of employees and staff. I'm sure even the robbers are very courteous to the hostages and everything. But I'm just saying, once the arena's been an arena for, I'd say 10, 15, 20 years, especially, I'm not calling it by its new name. I'm just not. And you can't make me. That brings me to skills on pills. I am on blood pressure medication. And the reason why I'm on blood pressure medication is because I get riled up over things such as the sports world. There are things in the sports world that upset me. And one of those things is when you rename arenas and you rename ballparks and you rename stadiums for no freaking reason without any given notice and expect people to just accept it. You just don't. Miller Park is still Miller Park to me in Milwaukee. There is no such place as American Family Field. And I love America. It's the name. Heinz Field. They changed Heinz Field in Pittsburgh after 20. I know Heinz stopped being a sponsor. I don't care. I would keep the name. Or at the very least, I'd reduce the terms because no one's gonna call it by that. What is it, Pfizer? Whatever the hell they call the Steelers Stadium now. I have never heard one person outside of a TV announcer call it that, and I've tried, and I've listened to everyone still calls it Heinz Field because it is Heinz Field, and you're not gonna make me call it anything but. Remember Candlestick Park, the late great Candlestick Park, where my 49ers played for eons. In the 90s, they went on that wave where they were renaming the stadium every couple hours to 3Com Park with a monster. I actually quit a job because the woman wouldn't stop calling it Monster Park. She was from Boston, and she just kept saying, Monster Park, Monster Park. I couldn't take it. I actually quit a job over that. Stop renaming these stadiums. Once you pick a stadium name, you stick with it for at least 50 years. And then if you do decide for some reason you want to change it, let's say, here's the reasons why it's okay to change stadium name. You can change the stadium name if it turns out the person or the entity that it's named after starts killing people or starts doing horrible S-word things to people, S-A word to people. You can change the stadium name for that reason. You can change the stadium name for Enron type reasons where it turns out the company is horrible and stealing and fraudulent and doing everything illegal that it can do to survive, stealing money from people. Then you can change the name of the stadium to Minute Maid Park. And I will go with it then in that case. But you cannot change the name of stadiums anymore just because someone pays you more money to do it. That's my skills on pills rant. Skills on pills. Take your blood pressure medicine. Just a couple more things I want to get into before we wrap things up. A couple of baseball stories came out today. Lucas Giolito, late of the Chicago White Sox, signed with the Boston Red Sox. Wait, no, actually Giolito played with the Angels to end last season. White Sox and Angels last season. Then he went to the Red Sox. 2 years, $38 million. He's kind of a reclamation project. He's a guy who's thrown a no-hitter in the past, but he's been kind of up and down since then. He's been a 20-game winner. He can do some things. He's a talented guy, still fairly young. Boston and Andrew Bailey, who's their pitching coach now, formerly of my Giants, but he left after Bob Melvin came in and Gabe Kapler was fired. Andrew Bailey maybe can turn him around. Andrew Bailey helped turn around Kevin Gausman, who was a similar type of spot in his career that Giolito is in now when Gausman was with the Giants, and hopefully he can have the same effect on Giolito for his sake. Other news in baseball I want to get into. There's just a couple more things. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, formerly shortstop of the Yankees, is now going to be with the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm pretty sure it was the Blue Jays that signed him. Yes, Toronto Blue Jays. 2 years, $15 million, and I'm not sure what they're going to do with him there because they already have a pretty good shortstop there right now. So we'll see how all that turns out. Bo Bichette's probably not moving, so what they're going to do for Falefa? Falefa's been a catcher, he's been an outfielder. I think he's been a third baseman too, so they'll make room for him somewhere. But this may or may not be the end of Cavan Biggio in Toronto, and if so, Toronto, remember, had so many second generation major leaguers up there for a minute there. The Biggio, Bichette, and Vlad Guerrero, and Lourdes Gurriel, whose father was a Cuban League superstar, but it looks like that might be slowly starting to change up there, up north of the border. The last bit of news I'll leave you with is Wander Franco's basically a fugitive down in the Dominican Republic. They went to check on him or to, what was it, serve him something. They weren't going to take him to jail just yet. Remember, Franco was caught up in a scandal over the summer. He was reportedly messing around indecently with a teenager, in which he is not a teenager. He is much into his 20s, and he was doing things that he should not have been doing with a teenager. Let's put it that way. Allegedly. And I called him out on this show, Skills on Sports. I called him out for being a dirtbag if it's all true, and all signs point to it being true. And now, if there's any doubt that it's true, him being on the run when they went to go serve him or visit him or check on him or whatever, they don't. No one knows where he is right now. No one of any authority. So, Wander Franco is we've probably seen the last of him in the major leagues. Probably done. I can't imagine him bouncing back from this. He's basically admitting that he's guilty. So, if he is guilty, I do hope indeed that he's done in the major leagues, and I hope indeed he's done as a free man. But he's got a lot of money, and he's probably got a lot of friends out there who are willing to help him. So I won't hold my breath waiting for him to be captured. But let's just get that guy somewhere where he can't be around children. Children should be played with toys and games, not with his thingy. That's been Skills on Sports. I'm your boy Skills, and I hope to see you on Sunday. I probably won't finish the editing till Monday, but we hope to do a Season Over Fire Everyone Sports Show on this coming Sunday after all the day football games are played. I hope to have it for you by no later than Monday morning, and hopefully that does come to pass. Until then, peace out.